Hi, today I want to show you what I've done with Replit.com, an online editor with AI workflows in detail. The short version is I like it quite much. It has its problems, but it also provides a lot of new, very interesting AI workflows. And I think anyone should basically look at it. There's a free version, which you only need to sign up for, and it's not paid. It's also not required any registration or visa number. So basically, register it, try to build something with it. The main difference between the paid version and the free version is that the paid version has an AI agent, and the other one only has the assistant. The AI agent basically allows you to do more complex queries. And basically, you can see here, I've opened the editor already. And to give you a short impression. So basically, you see a list of items on the left. This is a markdown list. And I thought to myself, it would be cool if I can go over these points. And each time I did something and explain it, I can mark it as done. So I can kind of track the progress here. And the way I've done it is I basically created just a new project in the home menu of the Replit editor. And I used the agent to produce something which basically realizes this. So my prompts were actually a few prompts. Create an application which read the README MD, extracts the bullet points with nested levels, and creates an interactive web page from it. Each item in the list must have a checkbox which is unchecked at first, and when clicked becomes checked. So basically that's what you see here. Then it basically gave me a import button, and I thought, okay, make it more precise then. Make it open the local README MD and don't prompt for a file selector. Then after one more time, the query here, it produced these files. Basically, it opens this in the networking view. So basically you can click this link and this opens a new tab. So you have it here, but you can also use the web view inside the Replit editor. So there's with the plus sign, you can select a few different like tab contents. There's all these different tools here: assistant, chat, code search, and so on. So basically with the web view, you see what the web server, which is started when I hit the play button here, what the web server basically displays. And I didn't specify the programming language. Replit chose this for me. And I thought, well, whatever Replit comes up with, it's probably the thing, it's the most likely there's something worthwhile to use. And turns out was quite fast. I think it produced it in less than a minute. And also the updated version so that it reads the local file instead of the file selector. And then I thought to myself, well, wouldn't it be cool if I get through all the nested items and then it selects the top level item for me as well. So I added another prompt here: update the clicked implementation in a way that the parent is checked once all the childs are checked. So we'll show this later, but just to give you an impression, I didn't even look at the source code. So it's some Py application. It doesn't have an HTML file thing. So basically, it's only here the app and uses Flask, it seems. Well enough for me. So the implementation is now explained, and the use case is, and that's also like an argument for Replit.com. It gives you an easy way to create an application for your specific use case. The programming language is actually English, and the outcome is something HTML. You can also deploy this to a web server. There's an integrated deployment. It's this button, deployments. I've never used it. I think it's good, but basically I use it for development at this time, not for this application. I have something else with Rust, which I'll show you later. But just to give you a broad idea about what I'm doing with Replit.com, what's the capabilities, and where I think it's heading. So a few more properties are you can use this editor with AI workflows. You can use it with co-op, also cooperative editing. So say you're a small team of like 3 developers, you can basically have a project on Replit.com, like the README tasker here, and then you can invite other peoples over with the invite button, and then you can select them by username or by email. Then they get an invite link, and then you can work together on one project. There's always, like in Git, the the possibility to fork the project so that you can work on a copy on your own and then later try to merge stuff with your colleague. That's an aspect I wanted to use, but so far I don't have many people who want to kind of take part in this yet. But I still think it's a valuable feature. And one downside is at the moment I think it only supports Chrome. I tried it in Firefox, it didn't work. It probably works on other browsers like the Edge, which is also built on top of Chrome, probably quite well, but I didn't try it. And what would I compare it to? So basically, I think what I used in the past a lot was rustrover from JetBrains. And before that, I used a lot of Goland because I used Goland for work, but I also wrote the Pancat software, which is used for my blog in Go. So basically, I was using Goland during that time. Back then, I was also using Copilot from GitHub. I had a paid subscription. It was when OpenAI basically published the service the first time, and Microsoft came with the Copilot license. So there I had a dedicated plugin. With rustrover, I think I didn't use much AI. And with VS Code, in my case, it's VS Codium. It's the open source derivative of Microsoft's Visual Studio Code. With that, I'm using local AIs with continue.deth. And basically here with Replit.com, you have a selection of, I think, different backends. At the moment, I think I only used Claude 3.5. And since a few days, like the 3.7 version. For Python, it's quite good actually. For Rust, that tells a different story. So basically, we're going to this in more detail. So, but in regards to languages, I think Python is a good choice in regards of AI support. A lot of the time, it just works. In Rust, there's often the case that the borrow checker, which does the variable lifetimes, doesn't work properly, so you have to fix that afterwards. And with Leptos, where there's lots of templates you're editing, it's also a different story there. So basically, it's the problems from Rust on steroids, because some of the way you would work in Leptos with the closures and the way the closures are then evaluated in a different way than like in a function once, where you have like where the function is only evaluated once and then never again when the variables inside the closure change. Yeah, so that's a different story. I think Rust and Leptos is actually quite hard in Replit.com. And Rust as a general target with AI is a hard target, I think. Okay, and then for Leptos in particular, so since Replit.com runs on a remote server, at least this web page I'm using most of the time, the advantage is that you can bootstrap your environment pretty fast. So it's basically opening a web page, doing the login, selecting your project from the home folder, and there you go. You can just start writing Rust applications. The downside is that since it's on a remote server, you have, in the case of Leptos, you have binaries with debug support, which are really huge with 40 megabytes. And the downside is if you don't have a fast internet, it's going to take a while until the web page loads. And since you're most of the time working in a browser with F12, like the debug handles opened, it also means that the caching is disabled, like here. And you would want that for web development. And that means you always are forced, even on local reloads, to re-download it again. So that's more, I think the tendency is more to use this kind of workflow with a local editor, not a remote one. But maybe when the servers at Replit.com get faster, or when the internet is fast, maybe it's not so big of a downside as it was for me. Yeah, so then in this section, I want to go into the details of the editor, like looking at some of the elements and things I liked, things I don't like. And for starters, let's see the file browser. So this here is the file browser, and it helps you to navigate a lot actually. So when I switch files, you see that it also switches files here. It's pretty similar than Visual Studio Code and to some degree from IntelliJ tools, but I think it's more limited. So one thing I like is that the italic font here implies that this file is only opened because of a reference. And if I then double click it again, the font changes to non-italic. This means it stays open if I change to some other tab. So especially if you use like control click and you get into a subdirect in a library function, which could be maybe this open call. No, that's a built-in. Can we visit some library? So I tried to control click here anything, but in this case it doesn't do anything. So basically that means we restart the application here right away. It basically means that you cannot control click anything, so you cannot use the browsing features, which is a cool feature nowadays. And why does it not load? It's reconnecting. Yeah, that's also a thing which happens a lot, the reconnecting. Even though my internet connection is pretty stable, it keeps reconnecting, and that's really annoying. But sometimes you have to restart the complete editor to get it back working. But we still have the list here. So basically the file browser, it's good. You can work with it. Could it be better? Of course it could be. If it's good enough, depends on your use case. For me, it actually is most of the time. So the document search, that's a different feature. In Replit, you have this over here. So basically there's two searches. You can click this one, and then you can just click a word like div view, because it's over here, and you can see that it's in the README on line 27, which is exactly this line. But you can also do Control-Shift-F, and then you get, isn't it the same? No, it's not the same. You get to code search, and here you can also do like networking. So it also tells you this file. The difference is this stays open, and if you have multiple references, like when I do 4, you see that there's also 4 in the Python script and in the .replit file, and you can also simply click all these files. And again, since this was non-italic and this is italic, it means if I click, for example, back to this file here, I would have expected that this opens this reference here. So basically, if I do it like this, then you see it just uses the same tab, but with different file name and content. Yeah, so basically, that's the way you navigate the search. I like this search, but I think that Visual Studio Code Search feels much more powerful than what I have here. And also when I use the simple Control F search in here and I do lines, you see that the blue is not very distinctive from the background. And that means oftentimes I just miss it. And so I have to look several times until I see what's been selected and what not. Same goes for pattern matching. I think, no, this hasn't, here for example, you can see it. It's very hard to see this here. I mean, this is a simple code, but consider like 20 or 50 lines plus, and you have to scroll through lots of code and try to find this matching bracket. It's just very hard. So yeah, that's what I think about the search. Then there's also like highlight and search. There's also like control left click. For example, when you go to the Rust department here, and I have a function which I can control left click. It just loads the environment. So far I can't left click anything. Let's see, does it do here? No, cannot click anything here either. So probably it loads in the background, or it just doesn't work at the moment. I don't know. Maybe I have to reload the web browser, but consider I do a control left click, then it would take me to implementation. That could be a library, that could be my own code, or like a crate from crates.io. And usually in other editors, you would use Alt and then left to go back to the previous section. But in Replit, there's just no visual controls for that. I think the editor has support for it. So far, I didn't find it. And that's also like a downside you have to live with. So control left click works. Alt left to go back actually probably doesn't. A feature I like, which could be better, but I really like it, is the diff view. For example, if you have changed something, let's just put this here over here. When we have the diff view enabled, it will basically give us this here in red because we removed this one and we added it over here. So if we do this for a simple, oh, now this is not a change, but this is like all the stuff change at one. But if we have like, if we add foo here, you can see it shows us the old line as red and the new line as green. So this is actually a quite handy feature, especially since you, if you have deleted files, you can still, or like deleted content in a file, you can still go back, and it's very easy to be used. Then we have a pending new tab on the right. All right. So most of the time, you would develop like this, I guess. So the editor looks like this, and you have different tabs here. So say you want to have the source code opened as a new tab, you can basically do this and move it over here. And you can also put it here, then it's a new tab, or you can put it here, then it's a vertical split. So it got basically the concept of different splits, which is great. You can also like right click and then just open and split. In this case, it makes a third split, which is quite annoying to be honest. But yeah, I guess it still works. But in other editors like Visual Studio Code, I usually do split right and it goes to the right pane, which is already open, and that's good enough for me. So here it's a little bit more clicking, but still it works. And also, which is important, if I reload the web page, it will just be there again. So there's no, so it's persisted basically. Okay, let's go on. Tab tooltip issues. For example, if you have this file or if you have several readmes open at the same time and you want like this one. No, I think this one was deleted, so it's not available anymore. But say you have different, what's going on now? Hello? It can't open the readme. Ah, here it is. Okay. So in this case, we can, what did I want to say? Tab tooltip issue. So basically, if I do mouse over here, it tells me the readme and oftentimes the location of the file below. Say this is a nested file like this one. I go here. And one of the problems is that while it shows me the file name, it also has this tooltip, which overrides the file name below. So it's very hard to read. And yeah, this is very annoying. I asked Replit to remove it, but so far nothing happened. And this is annoying if you work a lot with it like I do. Then Rust Analyzer. So as you can see here, we have the Rust Plus. So this means Rust Analyzer is active, working. And I think maybe it does work now. You see, I control left clicked and it opened the evil plugins. So basically this works. It took me there. There's now no way back, but you get the idea. You can do control left click, and that's because Rust Analyzer basically parsed together the document and gave you the insights in order to navigate the document. So this is really cool that it's integrated. It didn't work always, but sometimes it just starts and keeps working. So this is good. Then shell and console. Basically, there's two concepts. If you run your code with this button here, which basically executes whatever you want, which is something I like, and it's simple to edit what it actually should execute. So basically, you will see the outcome here. So if I click this button, you see the console. In this case, it compiles something. It fails with compiling, so you should fix it. If I do a control left click here, it opens the implementation. And it should open line 6, but for some reason the editor didn't scroll all the way up. So I can control left click again, doesn't do it either. So if I go there manually, you see, Of course, this is my copy and paste issue I created. Makes sense. Now it should be working. So basically, you see now it's working. But this was one of the things I dislike, kind of, that you do Control left click and it doesn't scroll you up. And combined with the issue that it's not very, that the visual cues are not very intense, it's hard to see that this is even selected. So, and since it was off screen, I didn't even recognize it that it isn't here. And then if I scroll up, hard to see. So that would be something. Please fix this. But back to the topic. So we have the shell and console. So basically the console is something related to this button. I would like it to be called run or something. And the shell actually is a real, what I consider a real shell. In this case, I think it's a bash shell. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's a bash shell. And in the bash shell, you can do all the usual stuff. Like you can also run the tick command in order to get some Git insights on your document. And I use this a lot because it's really working well, and I can use it on different operating systems and machines, and I don't have to install any visual tool. So I'm stuck with this workflow at the time, and this is where the shell comes in handy. Okay, you can open multiple shells, but it's not straightforward. For instance, if I go here and do shell, now it opens it over here, so I have to move it back. And then if you have several things open, you see that this shell is basically now to the left. So let's see if we can, no, it's actually, it closed the other shell. That's what I meant. So basically you have a hard time opening a shell a few times. I don't know why they did it, but that's the way it is right now. Okay, going back on topic. So the web view. Let's see, can we run this again? And then go to the web view. Where's the web view? So let's do the web view. Web view, here it is. So now, since I'm running this, you can see I basically have finished all this stuff, all blah, blah, blah. And let's go to the web view. So basically the web view is an integrated browser, if you will. It does not come with a dedicated inspector. So this inspector is basically for all the web page. So I wouldn't use it to modify much of your source code, but for simple things, it works quite well. You see that this is the Flask HTML code it generated. And this helps you to get some ideas. What's happening here? Like 800 errors. Okay, that's a lot. Oh yeah, interesting. Oh no. Okay, so that's not issues from my code. I think it's issues from the Replit editor. Okay, so basically you got the idea of the web view. Then there's some other tab which is interesting. It's called the networking. If I go up here, or if I open a new one, you can type your network, and then you can start networking. And this tab here, you can either use your mobile to get this QR code to open the web page on the mobile, or you can simply click this link. Parts of this link are synthesized automatically, and while executing your program, which then binds it to some local port like 5000, and the Replit internal web server maps this HTTPS domain, which is a valid HTTPS certificate. You can see it here. There's no error. You can basically open this document from any browser, and then you can use also the inspector and go nuts with it. You don't damage anything, and especially the console gives you insights in your stuff and not necessarily what Replit might print there as well. So this is a really cool thing. You can also do more than one port assignment, because you could in theory start using the console and using the shell in combination. You can start more than one program at the same time, and then basically you can use this to have different port mappings for your program. It's also nice because you can pass this over to colleagues to test something. So I recommend using this. It's a really straightforward way how to make your local web development or your web development accessible to pretty much anyone. Okay, next in the list, we have the toolchain. And the toolchain basically consists of something which is prepared by the Replit.com team. And let's go into a shell and let's see. So if I do which tick, you see, no, you don't. Basically, if I do ps-aux, then you see that Replit internally uses a lot of NIX, which is amazing. And so basically, if you're familiar with NIX and NIXOS, so this comes in very handy. There's also like the NIX store. There's lots and lots of valuable software already there. So for instance, in my project, I had to evaluate some flake. Where is it? Here. And this flake was using a Rust overlay, and it was evaluated pretty fast. So I guess it was already in ports evaluated so that it didn't have to go through all the compiler setups and so on. Yeah, so basically with this flake, which is not something which comes with Replit.com, but which is something I added on top of it, and it's only available basically from the shell. You can then basically go to the directory where this flake is, and you can see that the flake lives in this directory. Here you see it. And I can do nix develop, and then I see that it's evaluating the flake and basically doing the nix evaluator. And now I have a special version of cargo. So in this case, it is this version. And if I go outside of here and I do, it's this version. So you see, this is a little bit newer than this version, and I don't think I did it because of the version, but with the Replit.com from one day to the other, the WASM build didn't work anymore. So then I just copied over what I had in my other project for the flake, and you can see that with the Rust overlay and the WASM pack, this was then just working out of the box, which is a really pleasant experience on Replit.com that you can just do this and it works. Okay, back to the web view. So we have the toolchain basically covered. You can also install additional software here. So basically you have a new command like add, and then add is not found on the environment. So it command not installed, multiple versions of this command were found in NIX. Select one of them and press return basically. And here you can just use cursor up and down and select the add version, and then it will be installed, and it will also be persisted since it's adding add to the replit.nix. And we can also look at this file. It's this file here, and basically it's a function which takes packages, and it's something a list with depths, and in this list we have a couple of defined software. You can also use other tools to find software and install it, but I just use whatever is there with the shell environment. So I'm not sure when this will finish, but usually it just finishes and it works. Okay, back to the list. So we can, where's the web view? Here. So we have mentioned the toolchain and additional software installation. So now let's come to the Git integration part. Boy, oh boy. I tried to use it a lot. So basically you can go here, type Git, and then there's Git move existing tab over here. And then in here you can do commits. You can introspect your local history. You can also use different remotes. For instance, here, I didn't configure my GitHub account in Replit. So basically here here you can connect to github.com. The thing is, I didn't want to give Replit.com full access to my GitHub projects because there's a lot of code there and a lot of different projects and organizations. That's why I decided on a different strategy. So this is not officially documented, but you can also basically use SSH with Git and HTTPS in combination. So you can use your username and a token, which you can create on a per project basis in github.com. And then you can configure the local environment in Replit. So you cannot use it with this tool. With this tool, like the Git here, might work. I'm not sure. Which project is it? That it's this project. And here, that's the project where I have actually done it. Let's see. Git. Here it is. Now the question is, can I push something? Stage everything. Yeah, it looks like it's working. So in theory, I can just commit something. Let's see. Stage and commit all changes. Yeah, that works. So if you do it like I have done with the username and token, not using the dialog we've just mentioned, then it also works, but it's non-standard, sadly. Sadly, it's not standard. I don't like this very much. Okay, on to the next one. So the Git integration, to summarize the Git integration, I think it works fairly well. You can also use git clone on the shell to get some initial code to your REPL. And you can also use the shell basically to push to arbitrary remotes and to git bsects or whatever you need. I think it's fairly okay. And you can also use TIG for visual representation in the shell. That's what I do like most of the time. Now, come on. Like, then it looks like this. Yeah, install it, please. Okay, here we go. And yeah, you can use this for looking for your source code and changes. And the next one is the agent and assistant. Since we covered Git already, the way Git would be used traditionally, the sad thing, assistant uses it as well for snapshots, and they are like accounted for. So you have to pay for individual commits, not for Git in general, but for the assistant Git commits. And that's something I really don't understand why they did it. I don't like it very much. I like the fact that you can do like rollbacks to your previous state of the code. This is absolutely fine. But the way it integrates in your source code and your way of using Git, that's just a deal breaker for me. The agent, on the other hand, doesn't use like this rollbacks. So you can do small changes on your code using the agent. And I'm gonna show this for you to you. So let's go to a Python file. Like this one. And in here, there's two usages. One is like this, and I can click this button to explain with assistant. I just do this now. Now something really cool is happening actually. So this is basically a continuation of the document. So here's line 13 and here's line 14. And in between, it just wraps all this explanation. And it's really helpful since it's your code it explains. This is the reference input or the context window, if you will. And based on this, it generates this information. And say you're done with it, you can just press escape, or you can click here and it'll be done. Let's see, escape didn't work, but this did. So this is the assistant explanator, or the explaining features in the assistant. You can also do it like this. Can you modify it with assistant? And here you can just say whatever it should do. You probably have used it already a lot. So remove all the comments. Let's see what it proposes. It usually removes all the code, which is something I don't like very much. And then it tells you, like in the brighter red, what it removes, and in the darker red, what it keeps. So basically, it did exactly what I asked it to, remove the comments. Let's see if it also removed the spaces. Yeah, this is really great. Okay, so next on the list, agent assistant. Yeah, I've also covered the assistant's Git abuse, which I think is an abuse, but okay, you can learn to work with it. I probably won't, but it works. Especially, I think that's something honorable mention. Assistant is great if you start a project from scratch, give it some parameters, and just look at whatever it does. So there it's really helpful to have the assistants around. Later, I tend to use the agent more because oftentimes I try to use the assistant, and it would, with say your query wasn't that good, then it would transform too much of your project and do git commits, and then you would have to do unwinds of these git commits manually. So that was just too much for me. So basically, I use it for new projects and for small tests. I don't use it for complex rewrites. Sometimes try it. Most of the time works. When it doesn't, it's really annoying. And then one final remark on the usability of the accounting. So I didn't like the sign up of the credit card workflow, because it redirects you to the different provider, like a payment provider. And then once this is done, you can basically do commercial clicks in the software. And the way it shows you, like if I go to account and then into, where is it? Here, into billing. Yeah, let's go here. It tells you what you paid, and I paid this amount, $180. It tells you that there's additional features which cost on top, and there's no like general button to disable this. And I don't like services like this at all. At least you got this warning triggered when you exceed like $12. I actually read this paragraph a few times. I didn't understand how it actually works. So basically, this could be improved by a lot, I think, and it should. And also, like, if I have a subscription already running, so I paid this in January, and say I don't want it anymore because I want to just disable the renewable, the automatic renewable. I think this dialog could be so much better. Like when you do the same thing in Starlink, it tells you the exact date until when you can use the software still with all the features. And here I'm really not sure. I bought it for 1 year, and if I cancel it now, I wonder if it cancel it right away so that I can't use it today and tomorrow until the 1st of January. And this is really something I don't like about the accounting details in this Replit editor. So never mind, take me back to my account, and let's just continue with the checkpoints. So basically, my final remark on the cost transparency and usability is this could be improved. It's working. It's not great though. And the overall roadmap. So it seems that Replit.com was more an editor, a generic web editor. So basically it would be a cooperative editor for teams and do the deployments inside the cloud. So basically the setup of the development environments would be much more simpler, and also devices which are used to develop on the source code could basically be a tablet with a keyboard, or could be like a non-powerful device, probably also Raspberry Pi or even a mobile phone. There's also a mobile phone version of the Replit editor, which is quite good. I tried it a few times. So basically, this is the upside of this generic web editor. But it seems that Replit basically wants to go a different way now. So the gist seems to be that they want to be an editor for non-technical users who prefer to program in English, and as a result get an application. And I think Replit, you can not only generate web services like what I've been doing so far, but you can also use it to create desktop environments, or you can create programs for the desktop or programs for Android. I've not used it, but so basically the general gist seems to be that they want to go away from being a general editor into something for the non-technical people, which is quite sad, but understandable, because the AI space moves so fast. And I think that Visual Studio Code already fills in a generic editor, in parts also a generic web editor, because you can also run Visual Studio Code as an app. So basically that's where I think they want to differentiate themselves from the big Microsoft corporation. And in that regard, it makes absolute sense. So that's my take on Replit.com. I hope you like it. So leave a comment or like, and I hope to see you around. Bye bye.